of them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
It is time for the championship finale here in the World GT Championship. It is the Red Bull Ring, the venue for the rounds number 21 and 22 of season 17 of the World GT Championship. Hello everybody, my name is Paul Smith, and joining me as always, back once again, is Ron Mounds. And Ron, we've made it to the end of the season. It's been a tumultuous season, but it's certainly been entertaining nonetheless.
It has been a fantastic season. This journey that began all the way back in January has seen some absolutely fantastic racing, from the rain-soaked race number 2 of this season at the Nürburgring through to the fantastic racing action we had 1 week ago at Spa. This season has been a barn burner. We've seen many different drivers rise up to the top and elevate themselves, but now we're in crunch time. These drivers are looking to seal their deal on their respective championships and have a great day of racing action to bring this season to a close.
The championship started all the way back in January, end of January at the Nürburgring for these drivers before they headed to Bathurst and Silverstone. We had a week off before we went to Interlagos, Sebring and Hockenheim. Then another week off before we headed to Italy and Monza with Road Atlanta and Watkins Glen. Then the final for a quarter of the season. Imola, Spa-Francorchamps last week was the last feature technical round of the season, and this is our final round, and it's a feature round. Important thing to mention is that no drop scores available for today, so keep that in mind when we look at these Drivers' Championships. And well, it's a Drivers' Championship that's pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered in Pro for Dino Lombardi. He's got a 208-point lead in the season. And well, it's that battle for second place that's going to be interesting for us here today. Alex Davidson, James Boumé, and Anders Meyer are pretty close together and will be wanting that top 3 finish. Alex Cohen with Lorenzo Castellani, Alicia Bonino, 07 Racing. They've had a heck of a debut season in this championship. Aidan Young, Jack Sedgwick, and Michael Evdoka round out your top 10. Pro-Am, though, is really, really close. Just 79 points separate the top 3. Adam Watson and Will Guthrie both have a qualifying ban, so that means that Jack Osborne has got a great opportunity to get a steal of points. Just 79 points separate the top 3 ahead of Richard Simner. Alessandro Tokyo with Paul Webster, Joe Newman, Jonathan Walker, Dan Blackwell, and Phil Samways rounding out the top 10 in Pro-Am. Am has been won. Very simple. It's been won by Aidan Carter. He comes into this round 347 points in the lead. It's an insurmountable amount of points to beat. So congratulations to Aidan on winning that Am Championship. But the second place, well, that's another thing altogether. Dan McCauley, Ben Altria, and Simon Andre Livingston pretty close together between the 3 of them. It's going to be key to see how they get on. Ben Gregory, Jack London, Adam Hedgecock, Yanman Pruis, Jesse Payne Wilkins, and Stephen Koenig round out your top 10. Pro Teams is a bit closer than the Pro Drivers, and it's 07 Racing who just have a slim 35-point lead over WSR Esports Butt Kicker. Then it's WSR Next Level Racing ahead of Altitude 3M Esports, with Altitude Esports by SimStickers in 5th place. Talk Esports, Full Tilt Motorsport, Racing Lab Esports Ford, WSR Esports Abruzzi, and Solpec Precision Racing round out your top 10. There's just 9 teams in the AM Championship, and it's led by 177 points. Altitude Esports by Mr. Hedge over Series 1 Racing. DCW Racing Blue are in 3rd ahead of Full Tilt Racing. Prasada Nomad, Team Heap Together, and Ominous Gaming. Full Tilt Competition, Racing Lab Esports. And DCW Racing Yellow round out the 9 teams in AM. So that's how things stand in the championships. Another key thing to point out here, Ron, as we're right in the closing throes of qualifying, Dino Lombardi, another one of the drivers on the naughty step with a qualifying ban.
Yeah, I think Dino Lombardi is very happy about the form that he's had in the season up to this point, because if he entered this race with a marginal gap to himself in P2, he would be terrified heading into this race at the Red Bull Ring. This is not a very easy track as well. You usually think of Formula One when you think of the Red Bull Ring, but there has been some GT and sports car racing done here in the past. DTM ran here many, many moons ago. You do see some GT racing run occasionally around here, but it's still a track that is rather on the small side for these what's the word I'm probably looking for? Hefty, probably an odd word to describe it, but they're a bit bigger compared to the cars that usually race around here. So it's going to be a race of challenges for these competitors. The saying to finish first you have to finish is probably going to be a big one etched into these drivers' heads for this race coming up today.
Well, Dino Lombardi, all he has to do really in all of this is just score points. That's all he needs to do just to secure his Pro Championship. It's that Pro-Am Championship, 79 points separating the top 3. Will Guthrie's going to have to do it hard from the back of the grid as well. But when we look at the other championship protagonist of Jack Osborne in that Atomic Esports car, Osborne is 17th in qualifying, and he's 4th in class. I think he would have wanted to have been just a little bit further up the field to get higher in the points.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there, Paul. You want to try and strike while the iron is hot. If your competitors are going to be on the back foot, you don't want to try and be like, okay, let's just make it to the end. No, try and strike as much as you don't have draft points available, drop points, I should say, available towards you. So see Ethan Critchley running wide coming at turn 4. As much as you don't have those drop rounds allotted to you in the final 2 races of this season, you still need to strike while the iron is hot. Only 2 more races left to go. There's no point lollygagging around. You just need to come out to this racetrack and pounce on your competitors at any sort of weakness they may have.
Alexander Davidson missing out on pole position here. Alessio Bonino could be his first pole position here in the championship as they come across the line last few lap times. Alex Cohen to the top of the standings right now with a fantastic time there of a 1:28.826. James Boumet, he can't beat it. He improves his time but doesn't improve his place. Up into 4th place though for him as the last cars come across the line here to finish their qualifying. And well, what a mix-up it is at the front of the field. Alex Davidson, if you're him in that Porsche, you'll be a little bit disappointed to be off the front row.
Yeah, and if you are Alexander Davidson, there's going to be a bit of trouble starting alongside you. James Boumet has been on fire as of recent here in the World GT Championship. Just won his 3rd race last time out for race number 2 at Spa 1 week ago. He's been on a streak. It's been him and Dino Lombardi that have been taking wins going tit for tat over the past month here in the World GT Championship. I think James Boumet is going to be a driver we need to keep tabs on throughout this race.
The good thing for Alex Davidson is he does have a decent gap between himself and Boumet, so he can basically just run around behind him on track and get the points here in this one. Well, let's take a look then at your starting lineup of this race, as that's not the starting grid. I think our grid graphic has got a bit stuck there. There we go. So 07 Racing, but staking claim to the Pro Teams Championship as well. Remember, that's a quite close fought thing right now. Alex Cohen and Alessio Bonino sharing the front row of the grid with Alex Davidson and James Boumet fighting it out for 2nd place in the Pro Championship. Alessandro Tocchio, the top Pro-Am driver, 5th place, 3rd row of the grid. That's fantastic from him. Alongside him is Matthias Pirhonen. It's Jack Cedric and Anders Meyer on row number 4. Anders Meyer not that far behind Davidson and Boumet, so keep an eye out for the Mustang driver. Row 5 then for Ethan Critchley and Aidan Young, with Michael Evdoka and David Mendonca on row number 6. It's the 7th row of the grid for Adam State and Adam Tompkins, with David Baker and Tim Perry on row number 8. The 9th row, Paul Webster and Pro-Am Championship contender Jack Osborne. Row number 10 then for Dan McCauley, the top of the Pro-Am drivers. He's trying to secure 2nd place in Pro-Am, and that's the best way to go about it. Pole position in Am, should I say, sorry. Lewis Ward, his teammate, alongside him. Joe Newman and Arthur Fertel then on row number 11, with row 12 of Josh Boots and Aidan Carter. Richard Simner and Andy Shield then on the next row of the grid, with row 14 of Ben Altria and Phil Samways. The 15th row is Michael Gray and Jonathan Walker. Row number 16 then, Dan Blackwell and Taylor Lane, with Jack London and Ben Gregory sharing row number 17. The 18th row, Jessica Wilkins and Cameron DeBastos. It's row number 19 then for Simon Andre Livingston, another one of those AM Championship contenders, along with Adam Hedgecock. Yaman Pruis and Alistair Pollock then sharing row number 20. Stephen Koenig in the last of the lap times, then Dino Lombardi alongside him. Lorenzo Castellani, Adam Watson and Will Guthrie all on the naughty step with qualifying bans, but they find themselves at the back of the field. Now, traditionally, Ron, you would say this track in GT3 machinery is a difficult one to overtake at. Are we going to see a charge through the field from Watson, Lombardi and Guthrie?
See, here's the thing. As much as it may be difficult to try and overtake on some of the corners around this racetrack, you do have those heavy braking zones, but the turns are just tight enough whereby you may need to get a bit physical to get the moves done. The human spirit, though, can break any sort of challenge over its knee with a sickening crack. If you have that dog in you, so to speak, if you have that ambition to try and do well in this race that we have coming up, you may be in that catbird seat. There's only so much that pace can do. The human spirit, though, can do a lot of wonders as well, so we may have to think about that as well. I also want to raise this: track conditions pretty much perfect for these drivers. That's going to play in their back pocket even more. If it was challenging out there with either a really greasy track or a really cold one, any chance of rain, which we do not have here today, then it would be a bit harder. We are in prime conditions for the final 2 races of this season. We'll just have to wait and see how these drivers treat that overtaking game.
Altitude 3M Esports team boss Mark Fletcher in the YouTube chat saying, "Dear Adam, Polladino." Thanks, Mark. Very simple instructions then from the team boss. The thing is, Dino Lombardi, he doesn't have to move forward in this field. He can just sit there and just score the points, secure his pro championship. It's more on Adam Watson and Will Guthrie to try and minimize the points loss to Jack Osborne in that Pro-Am championship. It's going to be an absolute thrill ride as there's 2 45-minute races with a mandated pit stop as well, so you will see these drivers coming along pit road, and pit entry, I've been assured, is very, very difficult, and we could see incidents happen through that penultimate corner there, Ron.
Yeah, may end up seeing that. I've done plenty of broadcasts here at the Red Bull Ring where drivers have come to blows. Also want to raise this: James Boumet blinking out pretty badly on this formation lap. He's going to be starting this race on that second row. That may not be good for some of the drivers at the front, but right to get the second last race of this season underway here, Paul. Here we go.
Yeah, so the drivers are set. It's an all 07 front row. Acura's 1 and 2, Porsche and McLaren 3 and 4. As we get set for the start of this one, it's round 21 of the World GT Championship. Green flag in the air, and we are underway, heading towards turn number 1. A heavy, hard, uphill braking zone. Cold tyres and brakes for these drivers. Are they all going to manage to make their way through? I think there's an instant further back there for John Newman, and Adam State have got together at the back of the field, but we stay green flag racing, heading into turn number 3 right now, and onto the brakes hard. This is going to be one of the favourite overtaking spots for a few of these drivers out there, and Matthias Pirhonen hasn't got the memo at the Altitude 3M Esports because he's just overtaken his championship challenging teammate in James Boumet up into 4th place.
Yeah, that may not go over too well, but still a long time left to go in this race. We saw them go through turn number 3 clean, which is a little bit surprising to me, Paul. That is a big braking zone around this racetrack and a pretty big choke point as well, as I think Anders Meyer and Ethan Critchley giving us a good battle through the mid-sector.
Side by side between Meyer and Critchley. Tokyo has lost a couple of places here at the start of this race. He's got Critchley right there alongside him. It's Porsche versus Acura as we head into the penultimate corner of the lap, turn number 8. It's a 9-turn course, is this one here at the Red Bull Ring. Track limits, well, you mentioned it at the start of the broadcast, Ron. It's going to be a hot topic here. 18 incident points is the limit as Ben Altria heads around.
Oh, and be careful on the region as Joe Newman was coming by in the Mustang. That could have ended in absolute disaster. But talking about the track limits around this racetrack, Paul, one of the first Austrian Grand Prix I ever got the chance to enjoy the whole race weekend of on television, that is, was in 2016, when just about everybody and their mother's car had their suspension get cracked over some of the curbs around there. So I can assure you that the track limits are going to be tough for these competitors. We may end up seeing that argy-bargy game get played big time here at the Red Bull Ring.
I'm old enough to have been around when the last race at the old Österreich Ring took place back in, I believe it was 1987. I didn't remember seeing that race because I was only 3 years old, but I remember seeing them when they returned here back in 1997 at the old A1 Ring on this version of the course. Well, we are a couple of laps into this race. Alex Cohen and Alicia Bonino have got a good lead, but Alex Davidson is putting pressure on them because because he wants to try and stay ahead of James Boumet and also Anders Meyer in his fight for second place in the pro standings. Aiden Carter, he can afford to have a bit of fun here today, can't he? The pressure's off him. He's won the M Championship. Why not fill your boots and get the best result you can?
Yeah, there's nothing to worry about if you're Aaron Carter. You can go for the most obscene, just outrageous maneuvers imaginable. Probably going to be enjoying his time in the AM category for now, though. There is probably going to be a promotion heading the way of Aiden Carter. They have been incredibly quick thus far this season. I think last week, was it breaking 10 wins thus far? I'll have to go through my notes and try and count how many wins Aiden Carter's had up to this point in the season. But absolutely indomitable in that AM category. As some hard battling heading off into turn number 2 yet again. Technically, I believe it's called turn number 3. That small little meander in the road is considered a turn, but hey, I still remember when it was still 9 turns around this racetrack. I like that number, turn 9. Pretty nice way to end off the lap. But that hairpin, regardless of what number it is, going to be a prime overtaking opportunity and also a prime bowling opportunity if someone gets the braking wrong.
Yeah, officially it is turn number 3, but much like Road America and Road Atlanta, they seem to make up a corner where the corner doesn't exist here. I think the reason why they actually number that little kink to the left there is because there's the motorcycle chicane at that point as well, and I think that's why they do number it that way at this venue. Well, we're on board with Josh Boot. He's down in 22nd place in that Atomic Esports Mustang. Looking forward then at Aiden Carter. There's a couple of drivers with slow down penalties, Richard Simner and Deshiel, and that's through that quick left-right chicane towards the end of that infield. So easily done! Oh! Ben Gregory's around into the barrier. He's got a Saltbeck car with him as well. I didn't catch who the Saltbeck car was, but Ben Gregory gets dumped.
Yeah, Gregory gonna get shown the chrome horn coming out of the final corner. Not sure who it was coming to blows with him. May have been some side-by-side racing, may have been a bit of a checkup. The thing is, with some of the corners around this racetrack, the speed disparity between one car and another on corner exit can be so huge that it can have moments like this. And yep, there we go. That just about proves it.
And that was Gregory making the move into the final corner. Gets the job done, but the Porsche's going to carry the speed out of it, and then bang, into the wall, both of them go. And I am trying to figure out who the other one was involved in all of that. But yeah, we carry on. Green flag racing here then. We are getting the multi-21 call in the YouTube chat from team boss of Altitude 3M Esports of Mark Fletcher. He wants Boumet ahead of Pirhanen. Well, good news. Boumet's ahead of Pirhanen now. So Boumet trying to charge down on Alex Davidson.
And just touching back on that incident we saw around this same section of the racetrack one lap ago, it was Andy Scheel in the 007 car that made that contact coming out of the corner. That's going to be an unfortunate moment nonetheless for those competitors, both sustaining some pretty significant damage as a result of that collision. The thing with this racetrack as well, Paul, is because there's so many medium and high speed corners with those low speed corners thrown in as well, and massively long flat out blast. Any sort of aero damage means that you're going to be in for a world of trouble no matter how you slice it. So small bit of aerodynamic tweak, you're going to be in for a real rough ride until your first and only pit stop.
Joe Newman has headed to pit road and taken a tour, so it all went wrong for him right at the very first corner of the race for Joe in that Atomic Esports Mustang. He has dropped out of the race here in this opening race. Remember, there are 2 races tonight, and so make sure you stick around, because at the end of this race we've got one more to come here today, so stick around with us. Now Anders Meyer is under some serious pressure here from Ethan Critchley. Critchley is all over him like a cheap suit right now, and Meyer's got to be careful in all of this.
He's got that cheap suit all around him, and he's hoping that he doesn't get a bad case of fleas from it. Let's see how it's all going to shake out. Heading off through the final few corners of this lap. These corners, as far as I'm concerned, I'll be a very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel. I can never get those right for the life of me. It is super important to have a good setup nailed down in these race cars to try and maximize your run heading through those corners. And we talked about those incident points a little bit earlier on in this broadcast, Paul. Have a feeling that a vast majority of the incident points getting picked up by these racers probably going to be from those simple 1Xs, maybe a 2X here and there from getting a bit loose over one of the curbs around here. But those 1Xs, they are going to get racked up crazily during these races tonight.
Just to keep people up to date with how the drivers at the back of the field at the start of the race are going on, Dino Lombardi has gained 13 places to 29th. Adam Watson has gained 13 places to 31st. Actually make that 14 places now because he's just made a move on Jonathan Walker in all of this, according to my timing screen. William Guthrie is up 10 places, up to 35th. So they are moving through the field here in the early going. And this is going to be key for these Pro-Am drivers of Guthrie and Watson to try and minimize the points loss to Jack Osborne in that Atomic Esports Ford Mustang.
Really, just stopping the bleeding as quickly as you can is super vital in a situation like this. Damage control when you get to the end of this season. Obviously, don't want to be in a situation like this at all. It'd be ideal just to prevent it entirely. But if you find yourself in a spot where you do have to be nervous with what your competitors are doing and having some penalties to serve, it's just best to try and minimize the damage as best as possible. Keep your nose to the grindstone and keep your head in that same frame of mind so you don't get lost up in the smoke and the fire and the red mist of having to battle back from a bit of adversity.
Michael Gray, of course, Pro-Am champion last year, or last season, should I say? Oh, I suppose I'm technically correct. It was last year. He will be relinquishing that here today. He's not had a good season at all, has Michael, in that Full Tilt Motorsport outfit, and he'll be hoping to consign this season to the history book and to reset and try again in season number 18. You know what, Ron? We've been covering the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV since season 8. It's unbelievable. We've been here 10 seasons now with the World GT Championship, and the quality just keeps on coming through. The quality of drivers, the quality of racing. Okay, you can have one or two races that are a bit, how shall we say, questionable, but overall, iffy. Thank you. But some of the drivers that we've seen here, especially here, of course, this season with Dino Lombardi, the quality just keeps on coming here.
Oh, it absolutely does. You're seeing new drivers come into this series along with those familiar faces who have been around the block before. And when you have something like that, it's just such a harmonious relationship of those newcomers coming in, trying to get a grips with everything, but they still have that beginner's pace. They have that sort of feeling to them. When you're brand new to a series, that's usually when you get the most amount of performance. That's usually when you push the hardest. You've got those drivers who are new to the series, like a Dino Lombardi, trying to seal the deal on that Pro Championship here this season, and some of the others sprinkled all throughout this field. Then you've got some of the other reigning champions or drivers who've just been around the block before many times here in the World GT Championship. Those are the veterans. They kind of teach the other drivers. It's just such a good thing to have in an iRacing league, having the mix of both new drivers and old.
There wasn't the greatest fight there from Lewis Ward in that fight with Dino Lombardi. So Lombardi's up another place now into 26th. Lorenzo Castellani, as well as another one of the drivers who was on the naughty step at the start of the race, up 12 places up into 31st. He's just moved ahead of Jonathan Walker further down your field. You may be wondering to yourselves, why are we focused so much on Pro-Am in terms of championship? Well, in terms of the individuals championships, that is the closest championship that is here up for grabs today. So definitely Adam Watson, Jack Osborne and Will Guthrie we're keeping a close eye on. Dino Lombardi that we're looking at right now, he basically just needs to finish this race to seal the Pro Championship. And what a dominant season it has been from the Grid and Go esports outfit driver. A tremendous introduction to the series, and we're seeing some again, people moving out the way almost on Dino Lombardi here.
Yeah, Dino Lombardi, he's in his debut year here in the World GT Championship. He has come into the series, and he has just proven himself to be a worthy contender week in and week out, race in and race out. He's had to come back from some adversity. He's overall just been a very well-composed driver thus far this season. He's had those dominant wins. He's had the ones where he's had to battle tooth and nail. He's won in these feature races. He's won in some of the technical rounds, and he's also done pretty well in some of the endurance races we had earlier on in this season. Dino Lombardi, a very well-rounded racer, and if he can seal the deal again, we still have about 31 minutes left in this first race of the evening. If he can get a good result out of it, that Pro Championship is going to be his, and it will be a worthy championship for that driver.
It certainly will, that is for sure. Matt Fletcher does ask, as we've got a battle here with Full Tilt, Michael Gray putting the pressure on the driver in 22nd, Josh Boot. So Full Tilt on Atomic Esports through the final corner they go. Good run from Michael Gray in that McLaren, looking to the inside, not going to make that work, so he's going to go to the long way round into turn number 1, uphill braking, so you get contact between the two of them, bang into the diffuser. Well, wide goes the driver, Josh Boot. It's going to be a slowdown penalty for Josh, and here comes the DCW racing driver of Richard Simner. He's trying to get involved in all of this.
Oh, as you can see them heading through the braking zone down into turn number 2. It's going to be a drag race between boots. That is going to be a real close battle heading off into turn number 3. Such a tricky braking zone to try and nail down. You're going downhill through it and slightly off camber through the turn. Super easy to have a collision heading off through this section of the racetrack, but that doesn't mean these drivers aren't still going to throw the kitchen sink at it. Lombardi, as much as he's in a comfortable spot when it comes to the championship, he's looking at this battle and he is terrified for what may happen next.
He's rubbing his hands thinking, yes, there's 3 more spots I can potentially have here in all of this. This is fantastic stuff in your mid-pack here. I'm going to get to that question, by the way. Matt Fletcher, Altitude 3M Esports team boss, asks if anybody has done every season. Yes, one driver, Ben Gregory. That's the only driver who's competed in every season of this championship. There goes Simner down the inside of Josh Boot. I think Josh Boot will be feeling a little bit aggrieved with how that all has gone down, and it all started up at turn number 1 at the end of the previous lap.
Despite the fact this track is slightly on the shorter end at, I believe, 2.7 miles there or thereabouts, it is still a track where your race can completely turn on its head in the span of one single lap, with so many challenging corners, so many straightaways where a bad exit can really mess up your day. It can change in the blink of an eye as we take a look at side-by-side racing heading down that straightaway off into turn number 2. It is still a titanic battle with the McLaren and the Mustang, 2 very different cars, but pretty evenly matched as they were side by side briefly coming at turn 2.
Lombardi having a test of patience here. He knows he's quicker than the 2 in front, but it's a case of just working his way through. Can he go around the outside of turn number 4? That's going to be a tricky one. No, he can't. He gets forced wide. That's almost reminiscent of Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon back in the day, forcing him wide into the gravel. That's one of the things that you get with this track here. Gravel right up to the edge of the track. Lombardi, to this flash of the headlights, he wasn't happy with the treatment from Simner. He thought he deserved the space, and quite frankly, as a famous Spanish racing driver said, you must always leave the space.
I remember exactly when Carlos Sainz Sr. said that at a rally event back in 2013. But it's still, you brought up a good point talking about how this track still has that old school grass and gravel runoff area. The Red Bull Ring really nails that down to a T. You've got a good mix of that asphalt runoff, good mix of grass and gravel as well. And it gives these drivers a warning saying, hey, you don't want to just be like, you know what, I've got all the asphalt in the world. I can go into this corner way too quick and I don't lose out anything. No, there is still that old school punishment if you go off the track around this circuit. And you know, it wasn't really a fault of Lombardi last time by when he went off the track hanging through that corner, but it's still a tough lesson to learn. As much as it may be a good potential overtaking opportunity, you also have to think about the risk as well.
Yeah, you certainly do have to think about the risks and rewards as to how you go about racing around here, and certainly give yourselves a great opportunity. There is live timing available in the YouTube chat for you to see and be able to keep an eye on the driver that you are favouring. I know we've got a lot of fans of Dino Lombardi here. We've got a lot of fans of other drivers as well. Aiden Young, he's a driver who impressed last week at Spa. He's currently in 11th place behind Michael Evdoka right now. Evdoka, an experienced hand here in the World GT Championship. He's currently in 10th place. Aiden Young, 11th. And we have got some people heading to pit road at the start of this lap, and I can tell you that one of those drivers is Dino Lombardi, your Pro Championship leader, onto pit road along with Michael Gray and Lorenzo Castellani.
Yeah, as much as Dino Lombardi has been quick throughout this season, he knows the danger of getting caught up in someone else's battle. He kind of had that happen to him not terribly long ago. I think Dino Lombardi has thought, you know what, I don't want to risk it too badly. I just want to be there at the very end of this race. I'm coming in for the early stop. I'm going to let those drivers battle and do their chicanery well farther up the road. I'll take this pit stop, and I'm going to take the clean air that comes with it. Look out there on the racetrack. It is absolutely barren. I have seen Kmart parking lots, abandoned Kmart parking lots, that are more full than that. Lombardi going to have a clean spot on the racetrack. He'll be able to stretch his muscles out in that number 78 car and just be able to show off the pace that he usually shows whenever he's at the front.
The only reason I know of Kmart is because Nigel Mansell was sponsored by them in the IndyCar back in 1993. That's, again, showing my...
I think I have a diecast of that car.
But yeah, you're absolutely right though. Dino Lombardi has found himself a massive space out there on the road now that he can just put some hot laps in right now and get some really quick times and try and get the undercut, sorry, to work for him. Even though he's going to have that heavier car right now with the full fuel, he has got some fresh boots on that car. He did take some fresh rubber, so it'll be new rear tires on that car. Looking at this gap, this battle right now, there is your Pro-Am currently championship contender Jack Osborne. He currently finds himself in 15th place. Now, Adam Watson, incredibly, has gained 20 places so far into 24th place. Will Guthrie up 16 to 29th. So those two are narrowing the points gap, the points loss to Jack Osborne here.
And small little incremental gains. I talk about this a lot on broadcasts that I'm a part of. You don't need to just take out a gap with a chainsaw, because that's usually when some sort of disaster goes. If you can just whittle away at it slowly but surely with a nail file, you're going to get the same result. It may not be quicker, but it's probably going to be a bit more reliable. These drivers just slowly but surely gaining, making up that deficit with them having to skip out of qualifying earlier on. Osborne, he had that advantage at the very beginning of all of this, but he didn't really seize on it as much as he probably had in mind, and I think he's starting to regret that a teeny tiny bit.
Alex Davidson had a slowdown penalty. He's lost a place to James Boumé, so that's down one spot to 4th place overall in this race. It's not going to have a massive effect in terms of the championship in Pro for 2nd down to 4th places, but it does mean that Boumé gets an extra place between him and Anders Meyer in that battle for 3rd place in Pro Championship. Yeah, interesting how things are changing here now. Alex Cohen, Alicia Bonino for 07 Racing. We've barely talked about them in this race. It must be worth saying they've been keeping a really good pace at the front of the field, averaging, get this right, in the 5-lap average times, 1 minute 29.626 for Cohen, 1 minute 29.624 for Bonino. So there's absolutely just 2 thousandths of a second difference on average in the last 5 laps between the two.
You know, Paul, we were talking about this not terribly long ago, about the true, just pure competitiveness here in the World GT Championship, especially in this season. If there is any proof of that, that was it right there. 2 thousandths of a second around a racetrack like this. That is razor thin margins. That could be a matter of going an inch farther on one of the curbs around this racetrack. That is how small of a gap it is in terms of average laps as well. That just shows you how competitive this series has been thus far this season. Absolutely brilliant stuff up and down the field. It's hard to nail down which category has been the most impressive to look at, as we see a whole bunch of drivers deciding that now is the time to come down pit lane, firmly nestled into that pit window right now, Paul. I have a feeling the vast majority of drivers will probably come down pit lane either this lap or in the next 3.
Just having a look at Dino Lombardi's pace, lap time wise. I'm just waiting for him to cross the line to see his latest lap times. We'll look at our race leaders. Last lap for Lombardi, 1:29.8 compared to the 29.3s at the front of the field. So he's not that far off of the pace, is Lombardi, but he's got a heavier fuel on board that car. So I think that he's going to find himself a bit further up in the field than where he was when he came onto pit road. He was in that battle for 22nd, wasn't he, when he came onto pit road? So we'll keep an eye on where he comes out after all the pit stops.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point there, Paul, talking about that heavier fuel load. I will say, though, Dino Lombardi probably not pushing it as much as he has in the previous rounds of this championship. There's really not much in it for him to try and grab the win. Yes, you get some bragging rights, but I feel like a championship is something more to brag about than just a race win here in the second to last round of the championship. So no real skin in the game for him to force this issue too badly, but still proving that Dino Lombardi, regardless of what kind of situation he finds himself in, still fast as ever.
Pro-Am Championship leader has been on pit road a couple of laps ago, so he's had his pit stop as Adam Watson. Paul Webster and Taylor Lane are the latest two to head on to pit road for their scheduled pit stops. You're looking at around about 12 to 13 seconds in the pit box for these drivers here today. It looks a bit dark out there. I can tell you that there's no rain forecast. It's mostly cloudy skies here today, so obviously a big bunch of cloud has come over here on, and it's just one thing that will do is just help keep the track temperature that little bit cooler than if it was clear blue skies.
Yeah, that is a fantastic point that I think I've raised a lot throughout this season, talking about the track temperatures, which usually you think, okay, yeah, high track temperature is going to mean more grip. Not necessarily the case. I've seen some races be contested in like 125-degree track temperatures in the sim. Now, granted, if I was anywhere near that temperature in terms of like ambient or even track temperature for that matter, I'm pretty sure I would turn into a puddle near the apex of turn 2 around whatever racetrack it may be. But 125 degrees means the tires will get turned into a puddle as well. Thankfully, though, as we see Aiden Carter nearly missing the pit entry. Pit entry is so sketchy around this racetrack, but the track temperatures are just about perfect for these competitors. It's good news for the tires. It's good news for the crews that make their setups. It's just good overall.
Now, James Boumet has been pushing these last few laps, and he has been trying to gain on your race leaders, and he's within the period where he can get a little bit of a draft from those front two in front of him. Now, Alicia Bonino has been sat behind his teammate all race long and been getting a slipstream. Alex Cohen doing that right there has just slowed him down a little bit. That's compromising his teammate behind, but Bonino is doing the huge fuel save here, running behind his teammate right now.
And right behind these two 07 racing cars, I want to keep my eye on the number 28 of James Boumet. I talked about him right towards the top end of the show. He has gotten 3 wins in the past 6 races. He has been trading wins with Dino Lombardi right towards the end of this championship. He's been quick in that number 28 car. Ever since he broke through, he's found some newfound confidence in that McLaren, one of the newer GT3 cars added into the sim. The only thing new, I believe, is actually the Acura, which has been incredibly quick, as we have seen in the case of Dino Lombardi thus far this season. But Boumet in that Altitude Esports by Freem McLaren, that 28 car has just found an extra gear over the past couple of weeks, and I think he's finding an extra gear here in this race. You can see that gap has diminished between himself and the 2 team cars right in front.
It certainly has, that gap coming down at the front. Jack Osborne, Atomic Esports, still in the prime seat in terms of Pro-Am points standings, although not the best run through turn number 1, and actually got himself a slow down penalty through turn number 1 there, so he's going to be under pressure from Arthur Thurtle. Now Thurtle, let's not forget, is the teammate of Adam Watson. Oh! Contact with Tim Perry. Perry stuck his nose in there. Now Perry is another one of those teammates of Adam Watson. And oh dear, Jack Osborne, I tell you what, the tinfoil hat will be coming on here and saying it's a conspiracy. They're out to get me.
Insert the X-Files theme here. I'm not sure if it was anything like that. I think it was just overly ambitious to try and go for that move heading down into the hairpin. It is so inviting to go for a move, but as we take a look at this replay, you can just see how much this section of that racetrack bottlenecks. It goes from probably about 3 to 4 lanes wide into about 2.5. It is super tough to try and get a move done heading through that section, let alone one as last minute as that.
I'm sorry, but Tim, I really like you, I really do, but that was a poor decision making right there, in my opinion. He should have just held his line and not stuck the nose in there. That is for sure. So anyway, we're going to change for the lead. Alessio Bonino to the head of the field, ahead of Alex Cohen, because James Boumet in that Altitude Freem Esports car is right there with them, and he's dragging Alex Davidson along with him. Remember, Alex Davidson is your reigning pro champion. He will be looking to hand that crown over to Dino Lombardi after this season. Pit stops happening. Jack London, Adam Tompkins, Tim Perry, also Jack Osborne, who will be wanting to quickly run out the car and smack the side of Tim Perry's car, I have a feeling, in pit road. A few others, Simon Andre Livingston, Jan-Man Pruis, and also Ben Altria onto pit road for their pit stops here. We're reaching that pit stop window closing now, aren't we, with 15 minutes remaining?
Yeah, we are at the point where that pit window is starting to shut. Let's see if any of these drivers in the top 4 decide that now is the time to pit. It's going to be a split of the teammates as Alex Cohen and Alexander Davidson going to come down pit lane as a small little duo there. I think Davidson in all of that, yeah, you can see he caught up a little bit to Cohen. That pit entry is one of the toughest here in the sim. You can see a whole bunch of other drivers, the likes of Anders Meyer, Matthias Pirinen, Ethan Critchley, and Jack Sedgwick, all deciding that now is the time to come down pit lane. But that pit entry is one of the toughest that we have visited all throughout this season here in the World GT Championship. If you get it right, you're gonna feel like $1 million. If you get it wrong, you're gonna be feeling like a doofus.
Davidson, well, speaking of getting it wrong, Davidson's jumped Alex Cohen in the pit stops there. Great pit stop then from Alex Davidson, that WSR Esports team doing a fantastic job in that outfit with the butt kicker sponsorship to them. So yeah, great job from the pit strategy right there for Alex Davidson. Remember, your reigning pro champion. Now, it can almost be beneficial, Ron, can't it, to not pit when others are coming onto pit road, because you can compromise yourself into that run onto pit road, can't you?
Yeah, let's take in all of that. Davidson, who came down pit lane right behind Alex Cohen, getting a small little checkup on a pit entry. I saw a couple of days ago. It was a different broadcast I was doing. Heading through that corner, pretty much the entirety of the top 5 wiped themselves out trying to come down pit lane. If you're behind a competitor who's coming into the pits, you're going to get caught out yourself. Having that ability to be fully committed in that pit entry is going to be nice, as Benino and Bume coming down pit lane. Alessandro Torchio there is also going to follow them in that 912 car. Aiden Young will join them in the pits as well. Let's see if David Baker, slotted in 5th at the present moment, will join those drivers as well. But this is a money stop for these drivers. Let's see who gets out in front.
Well, let's see. Then Benino, he needs to be off the jacks, which he is. He needs to be pulling away. Now, James Bume was quicker off the pit road. Oh, he's ahead of Benino. Fantastic stuff to see here. Here comes Alex Davidson in all of this as well. And James Bume to the head of the field. But Davidson's got the speed now. He's got that overspeed compared to those coming off a pit road right now. He's got the opportunity with the run, with the warm tyres, don't forget, as well. His tyres are going to be up to better temperature than these two in front of him. He could maybe get the launch out of turn 3, up the hill towards the top, and then downhill braking into turn number 4. But it's Bume who leads this one ahead of Alicia Benino, Alex Davidson in 3rd place. Incredible change here in the pit stop phase.
And you think of these drivers on cold tires, think of the corners they have to go through on cold tires, and think of the advantage that Alexander Davidson in that number 1 car will have not being on cold tires. You've got this turn right here. This is turn number 6. That is such a tricky corner on hot tires, let alone on ones that are ice cold out of pit lane. They're not ice cold now. I would say they're probably lukewarm. They're not exactly hot either. These drivers still having to work it a little bit. Not really seeing any weaving from these drivers to build a more tire temperature. I think they withstood the challenge. James Bume executing that pit stop flawlessly in the number 28 machine, proving exactly why I've been keeping tabs on him. He was just running behind, he was getting that better fuel mileage, and he's now jumped into the race lead at the 12-minute mark.
He is the fuel whisperer, let alone tire whisperer. He is the fuel whisperer, is James Bume here in this series. Benino now under some serious pressure from behind of Alex Davidson. I don't think Davidson's going to be too worried about Bume being in front of him this close, because he's not going to really gain that many points over Davidson in terms of trying to get 2nd place in the championship. Davidson to the inside at turn number 3. Now, Benino could get on the power earlier on that outside line, can hopefully get the run down towards turn number 4. He does stay ahead for the time being. Let's just give you a quick rundown of how things stand right now, as actually Alex Davidson to the inside of 4. It's downhill braking. Will he leave him the space? The answer is yes. Oh, this is fantastic stuff. This is for 2nd place in the race.
And as all this is going on, James Bume in that number 28 car, he's going to check out as he's to continue to fight, heading off through turn number 6. Davidson stuck on the outside line. Alessio Benino in that 33 Acura trying to hold his own on the racing line. Let's see, they're still side by side. It's going to be a fight down the small little flat Appalachians in the final 2 corners. Davidson getting that move done for now, but Benino still within striking distance. And look at him out, all of that. Bume has just completely checked out, now over a second between the two.
Yeah, 1.3 seconds as they go across the line then. So it's James Bume who leads this race ahead of Alex Davidson and Alicia Benino, with Alex Cohen, who led 19 laps of this race, down in 4th place ahead of Matthias Perhinen, with Anders Meyer up to 6th place. Alessandro Torchio is the top Pro-Am driver in 8th place. The next best Pro-Am driver is David Mendonca in 12th. And then you have to go a little bit further down to Paul Webster, who's in 18th. He's 3rd place in Pro-Am. Now, what has happened to Jack Osborne in this race? He is down to 26th place. Crucially, behind Adam Watson, who's up to 24th place, gained 20 places in this race as Adam Watson, and just for record, Dino Lombardi up to 15th place then. He has gained 27 spots. In AM, your top AM right now as things stand is Aidan Carter, who's just ahead of Dan McCauley, who's in 2nd place in AM, and Jack London rounds out your top 3 in AM.
But what a disastrous race one here at the Red Bull Ring for Jack Osborne. He was looking to try and take any sort of opportunity that would come his way, but in all of it, it just has come up with lemons every single time. As some side-by-side racing going on down into turn number 4, going to single file out on corner exit. Osborne, that's going to leave a very bad taste in his mouth if he wants to have a hope and a prayer at getting that Pro-Am championship. He's going to have to hope for a miracle in the final 8.5 minutes of this first race of the evening and the second race later on today.
I think if you're Adam Watson, you don't get yourself involved in any trouble right now. Keep your nose clean and try and just do this. Remember that there are stewarding decisions to be made post-event. So the championship standings that we give you at the end of tonight will be provisional until those stewarding decisions have been made post-event. So you'll be able to keep up to date with everything that happens in terms of who wins which championship on the World Sim Racing social media and also on their Discord as well. Just under 8 minutes remaining in this race here today, and wow, it has been a surprising race, but certainly been an exciting one to watch so far.
Oh, it has been a brilliant one up to this point, and we still have 7.5 minutes left to go. That's plenty of time for some more battling to try and shake out. The one thing I'm keeping my eyes on, as much as we've got that fantastic championship battle in that Pro-Am category, I still want to know who's going to grab the second to last overall win at the end of this race. James Boumet still having that big cushion between himself and Alexander Davidson, about 1.2, 1.3 seconds separating the two of them, but I wonder, will Alexander Davidson in that number 1 car be able to mount a challenge on James Boumet in the last few stages of this race? Rise Up and saying that gap has diminished a little bit, and they've also got some traffic to potentially worry about here too. That could be the reason why.
Cameron DeBestos and his teammate Stephen Koenig in front of them on track. Now, James Boumet will be on the flashes, I'm sure, and they have caught right up. Boumet's been compromised here by getting caught up behind those two Team Heap Together and Ominous Gaming cars. Now, he's flashing the headlights at Koenig in front. He wants to go by. And yes, Koenig does give him the space to go through, and DeBostos says, thank you very much. That's a position, and Alex Davidson is going, I'd rather not, lads. I want to get by, thank you.
Yeah, that small little bit of side-by-side racing, it didn't matter too much for the two teammates as they were battling, but that meant a big deal to Alexander Davidson. That gap has ballooned out yet again. Still a lot closer than it was a matter of just 1 lap ago. That gap has been basically halved since then. But in all of that side-by-side racing coming out of turn number 4, Alexander Davidson had that run rather neutered, and Benino as well. He's going to have to deal with those two teammates. He's already gone by one of them, has to worry about the second. The driver of the number 33 car doesn't want to lose tabs to this battle as well.
Well, this has certainly been an entertaining first race, and we've got another race coming up for you after this one. Stick right with us here on RaceSpotTV. It's been a thrill ride so far, and a reverse grid potentially for the final time this season. Remember, we spin the wheel to decide who gets pole position. There is the option of having no reverse grid. We don't want to see that. We want to see a full reverse grid, don't we?
Okay. But back in January at the Nürburgring for the opening 2 rounds of this championship, it was my first ever time on one of these World GT broadcasts. Gotta say right off the bat, I've absolutely enjoyed my time with this series. It's been awesome up to this point. But that opening race, the second race of the evening, we had complete rain-soaked conditions and a full reverse grid. That was a trial not by fire, but by firing squad. I absolutely enjoyed it, but I feel like my heart can't take it if we do have a full reverse grid. Won't have to worry about the rain, but would still have to worry about the entire grid being flipped on its head.
Certainly. We never know. We might actually get a bit of rain. You never know about that for the final race of the season. I mean, to talk about throwing extra drama into it when we don't need it, then that would be that. So Adam Watson has not been able to move ahead of Richard Simner there in that DCW racing car. So Watson in his Porsche has got another Porsche behind him right now of Lewis Ward. Jack Osborne behind them. And Jack will be feeling, and to a degree, I can completely understand why he would feel aggrieved at what happened with Adam Watson's teammate, Tim Perry, in all of this. Doesn't matter if Tim Perry gets a penalty for that incident at turn number 3 before the pit stops. It's Osborne who's lost out big time here.
Yeah, the best way I can describe it is it doesn't matter where it comes from. If the falling anvil still crashes on your head, you're going to have a headache at the end of the day. So that's going to be unfortunate. It's going to leave a sour taste in his mouth, but it's also going to give him a bit of passion and a bit of pep in his step, so to speak, to try and fight hard in that second race we have coming up later on today. As 2x2 heading down into turn number 4, we're entering the final 3 minutes of this race, and these drivers are really turning up the wick.
Adam Watson trying to make moves on Simner, and behind them as well, you got Jack Osborne trying to make his move on Lewis Ward. To the inside goes Osborne. Oh, don't get yourself involved. Now that's the problem when you're a championship contender, when you've got a championship on the line, you can't afford to get yourself involved in any silly incidents, can you?
Yeah, can't really afford to do something like that. And one thing to raise as well, talking about these drivers as we continue to have them on a screen, it's not all Pro-Am competitors. You can see that pro driver in the mix of all of that as well. All these drivers obviously running in the same class. You don't get a power limitation if you're not a pro driver, if you're an Am driver or Pro-Am driver. It's all the exact same machinery, but because there's multiple classes, there's that little odd thing that goes on in these drivers' minds. If you're a pro driver, you're like, you're a Pro-Am driver, don't try and battle me. And if you're a Pro-Am driver, you're like, you're a pro, get out of my way. I really need this spot. You should be well farther up anyway. It's that sort of kind of mental dichotomy that goes on with these drivers in a situation like this. And when you have a championship on the line, it gets that wick turned up even more.
And if you are wondering, if you're new to this championship and you're wondering, well, why are they tripping over the pros and the Ams with the Pro-Ams? They've not got their own individual points. It's a points tally based on the position, the overall position that you finish in. So this is why you're seeing pros and Ams and Pro-Ams fighting it out, as Simner and Watson fighting it out between the two Pro-Am drivers through turn number 4 and 5 into this complex in the middle of the track. You need a good car underneath you to try and go around the outside, and well, Watson's trying that right now. Not going to have the overlap though through the left of 6 and through the right of 7, but he's going to have to run off the corner is Watson to try and put the pressure on Simner here. Here comes Lewis Ward in all of that as well. Not able to make the move though as we reach 43 seconds remaining of this race. James Boumet has just a 0.4 of a second lead over Alex Davidson. We're on to the last lap here, and well, it's pretty close between your two race leaders here. Into the infield they go. Alex Davidson, I do feel though, has had the last of the overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, he's going to have to hope for a miracle heading off to the middle and final sector of this lap. It's a close gap, mind you, but with no real heavy braking zones from now until the checkered flag. I think it may be James Boumet in that catbird seat to grab the win.
Well, it's going to be James Boumet, one of the two drivers who has had winning ways this second half of the season, and it's going to be another race win for him. Round number 21 of season 17 of the World GT Championship is won by James Boumet for Altitude Free Am Esports. He finishes ahead of Alex Davidson in second, ahead of Alessio Bonino in third place. Your top Pro-Am driver is Alessandro Tocchio in 9th place overall. Great result for the Italian driver. Aidan Carter is just ahead of his Am rival here, but it's going to be yet another Am win here for Unid Racing. And Aidan Carter once again shows why he is this season's Esports champion. But look forward, because Dino Lombardi, he's crossed the line already as more come across the line. Dino Lombardi secures himself the Pro Championship for Grid and Go Esports. He is your Pro Champion here this season.
And it may not be another win, it may not be another podium, it may not even be a top 10, but at the end of the day, the driver of the number 78 car, Dino Lombardi, he really has not put a foot wrong all season long, from the drop of the green flag at the Nürburgring all the way through to the fall of the checkered. In the second to last round of the championship here at the Red Bull Ring, Lombardi has been the top of the top in that pro category. He's going to be the champion at the end of the day. He's going to enter that second race feeling like it's really just a victory lap, but well done to Lombardi.
Well, we'll get to spin the wheel to decide who is going to be on pole position, and I'll tell you what, 15 is one of those numbers we've had come up this season, so you never know, Dino Lombardi could find himself on pole position here today. In fact, let's find out who is going to be on pole position then, as the wheel slows down. And please, it's not going to be, it's going to be 25 who gets pole position. So let's find out who is going to be on pole position. But here are your unofficial race results then for round number 21 of the World GT Championship Season 17. And it's a win for James Boumé in the Altitude 3M Esports car, just by half a second ahead of Alex Davidson in that WSR Esports butt kicker car. Alessio Bonino finishes in third place here, losing 1 place overall for 07 Racing, but that's going to do them good because of fourth place as well for them in the Pro Teams Championship. Matthias Pirhonen ahead of Anders Meyer with Ethan Critchley, Aidan Young. Then it's Alessandro Tokyo, the top at Pro-Am driver here in the field today, in 9th place ahead of Michael Evdoka in 10th. 11th place then for Jack Sedgwick ahead of David Mendonca, with Adam State and David Baker then in 13th and 14th places. Dino Lombardi in the end gained 27 places, also set the fastest lap of the race for Grid and Go Esports. He is your pro champion and he will be delighted with that. 16th, Rafa Thurtle ahead of Adam Tompkins and Paul Webster, with Lorenzo Castellani finishing in 19th. Again, another one of those big movers, 24 places gained. And Aidan Carter for Earned Racing, continuing his winning ways in AM, finishing 20th place overall. 21st then for Dan McCauley ahead of Tim Perry, Richard Simner and Adam Watson. Lewis Ward is going to be on pole position for the second race of the day. He finished 25th ahead of Jack Osborne, Taylor Lane, Will Guthrie, Jack London, who finishes on AM podium in 29th. Bill Samways in 30th. 31st then for Jonathan Walker ahead of Dan Blackwell, his teammate, Ben Altria and Jesse Payne Wilkins then, and the next two were Simon Andre Livingston. Yaman Perez ahead of Ben Gregory, who recovered after that early incident with Andy Scheel. Adam Hedgecock, Cameron DeBastos and Stephen Koenig 1 lap down in 40th place. 41st for Josh Boot ahead of the non-finishing drivers as well, of Michael Gray, Andy Scheel, Alistair Pollock and Joe Newman. In fact, correction, I do believe that Michael Gray did actually finish the race just 7 laps down. Well, there we go then. That was the first race of the two here today. Paul Smith and Ron Mounds bringing you all of the coverage, and what a display. I thought 07 did a great job for the first half of the race, but James Boumé, that turn of pace and that quick pit stop really worked out for him.
And that game of patience that he played in that first stint as well didn't get caught up in the smoke and mirrors and red mist of a really intense battle. He just stayed behind. He got that fuel number, and when it came time for that pit stop, he was just able to come down pit lane and get out well quicker than anybody else. That is his 4th win in about 7 races here from the World GT Championship. It may not be enough to get that pro championship, but James Boumé has really turned up the wick.
Certainly has. I mean, he is basically, he finished ahead of Alex Davidson by a single place, so it's doubtful that he'll get second place in Pro now, but it really does help him because he started this round just 2 points clear of Anders Meyer in third place. So third and fourth in Pro is still pretty close in the championship. We'll get you updated points after the break. Pro-Am, Alessandro Tokyo, I mean, an incredible performance in qualifying. Got himself qualified in 5th place. Okay, lost a few places down to 9th, but still was clearly the best Pro-Am driver out on the grid here today.
Torquio has been very quick throughout this season. If he didn't have that bit of inconsistency every now and then from this series, he'd probably be involved in that Pro-Am championship discussion. But just because he's been a bit on the consistent end at certain points throughout this season, he's been quick. Just proved it there. That's another win for him in his back pocket. Torquio trying to end the season strong.
Aiden Carter, he can't stop his winning ways, can he? He started 19th on the grid, behind Dan McCauley, he started 24th, sorry. Dan McCauley started 19th. Dan lost a couple of places overall in this race. Carter moved forward to 20th, gets an AM win yet again. He'd already sealed the AM championship. He's just having a bit of a parade lap, isn't he, really?
If it wasn't for Ben Gregory a couple of weeks ago, this would be 14 race wins in a row for Aiden Carter. It is still his 13th win this season. Absolutely fantastic stuff from the driver of that Corvette. And one thing to raise, talking about the winners of James Boume, Alessio Torquio, and Aiden Carter at the end of this first race of the night, that's the first time throughout the entirety of this season and the 21 races we've had up to this point where we have had back-to-back winners in all 3 of our classes. Exact same results that we had from race 2 at Spa 1 week ago. Pretty nice stuff.
Yeah, that's worked out quite nicely. So, yeah, definitely. Now, the next race, it's going to be the championship finale. We've got a 25-car reverse grid. It worked out perfectly for Adam Watson. He finished 24th. He's going to be on the front row of the grid for this second race. He's trying to secure that Pro-Am championship for him here today. He's got a little bit closer, having just beaten his championship rival, Jack Osborne. I think Will Guthrie is just out of this one now.
Yeah, I don't think it is going to be happening for Will Guthrie, but what we are going to see in this second race we have coming up is going to be another Pro-Am driver under a heck of a lot of pressure. We saw in that first race, Jack Osborne kind of cracking. He had the opportunity to try and pounce while his rivals in that Pro-Am championship battle had those quality bands to serve. Didn't really go his way at the end of it all. Got involved in some incidents that weren't really his fault and just didn't really show the pace. Now, though, the shoe is for Adam Watson. He needs to impress in this race. If he can get the job done here in race number 2 of the evening at the Red Bull Ring to bring the season to a close, he's got to be bringing home a championship trophy at the end of it all as well.
What a way to finish off the season with potentially a race win. It's going to be difficult to do, that is for sure. Stick around though, because right after these messages, we are here for the final race of season 17. Stick around, we'll be right back.
all of them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Welcome back to Austria then for the championship finale of season 17 of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Ron Mounds bringing you all of the coverage here today. We have one final race for people to decide where they are in the championships. We have got updated championship standings. Dino Lombardi confirmed provisionally as your pro champion, 177 points ahead of Alex Davidson. Now in Pro-Am, it's Adam Watson's leading by 59 points over Jack Osborne, so Osborne needs a miracle, I think, to have any chance of winning the title, but he'll be hoping to try and hold on to second place because Will Guthrie is not that far behind him either in the points standings. In teams, it's 38 points that separate 07 Racing and WSR Esports Butt Kicker, so that 1-2 for 07 really did them a world of wonder. And Altitude Esports by Mr. Hedge have got a 156 point lead over Series 1 Racing in AM teams as things stand. We will be able to give you provisional championship standings at the end of the broadcast. But Ron, we've got a minute and a half of warm-up left. It's been a tremendous season. Just to touch on what's been your sort of highlight of the season.
I would say up to this point, the highlight of the season was probably that opening round at the Nürburgring. It was my first ever time doing one of these World GT Championship broadcasts here on RaceSpotTV. I was nervous. It was the first time I ever had to appear on camera for a broadcast as well. I didn't know how it was going to go. I was terrified heading into it. And that's like, okay, got a pretty hectic first race. And that's like, okay, things are going to settle off into the second. Then we had an all-grid swap. Last started in first started in last, and then the rain came in with some pretty cloudy and cold track conditions there as well. That opening race was just absolutely brilliant. I remember shaking with adrenaline that I just felt as a spectator and a commentator on that show. That was just an absolutely wonderful way to kick this season off. But since then, there's just been so much wonderful racing action. It's hard to pick a highlight, but I would say that would probably be the one that I would pick.
Do you know what? Genuinely, I would agree with you on that one as well. That opening round of the championship really set the stall for the rest of the season, and how the changeable conditions have had an effect as well. It's the first season that we've had the weather affected races as well, so it's been great to see how these drivers have been able to adapt to those changes. It's been great to see new faces come into the season. 07 Racing being one of those. Dino Lombardi, of course, with Grid and Go, the sole Grid and Go driver out there, really showing what he can do. But even in Pro-Am, Solpec Precision Racing, great to have them on board for this season as well. So certainly had a great season to look back on, and of course you can watch all of them on the VODs on the RaceSpotTV YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe as well. Lewis Ward finds himself on pole position then after finishing 25th in that first race. Alongside him is Pro-Am Championship leader Adam Watson, with Richard Simner and Tim Perry on row number 2. Dan McCauley and Aidan Carter, 2 AMs, on row number 3. Row 4 for Lorenzo Castellani and Paul Webster, with the 5th row of Adam Tompkins and Arthur Thurtle. Dino Lombardi, look for him to potentially win this race. He started on row number 6 alongside David Baker. Adam Stace and David Mendonca then share row number 7, with the 8th row of Jack Sedgwick and Michael Evdoka. Alessandro Tokyo and Aidan Young sharing the 9th row of the grid. Row number 10 then for Ethan Critchley and Anders Meyer, with Matthias Pehonen and Alex Cohen row number 11, Alicia Bonino and Alexander Davidson on row number 12. James Boumé, your race winner from the first race of the evening, starting on the 13th row alongside Jack Osborne. Couldn't have gotten any worse for Jack with that reverse grid. Taylor Lane and Will Guthrie then on the 14th row, with row 15 of Jack London and Phil Samways. Jonathan Walker and Dan Blackwell then sharing the 16th row of the grid, with Ben Altrea and Jesse Pay Wilkins on row number 17. Simon Andre Livingston and Yaman Pruis rounding out row number 18. On the 19th row of Ben Gregory and Adam Hedgecock, Cameron DeBestos and Stephen Koenig round out the 20th row of the grid. Josh Boots and Michael Gray share row number 21. The final row of the grid, Andy Shield and Joe Newman. So 44 drivers to take to the grid for the final time here today. Track conditions, crucially here, a bit warmer, 33 degrees Celsius on the track for the drivers, which for those of you using Freedom units, that's 92 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it's going to be a scorcher nonetheless compared to that race that we had earlier on for race number 1, round number 21 of this championship. It was about 20 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. That's rather comfortable. That's the sort of day where it's like, okay, Sunday afternoon cruise, you're rolling the windows down, you're just driving around, one arm out the door, the other one on the wheel, just driving around, having a good time. Here, though, it's going to be hot, 92 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we get this race underway, I have a feeling that track temperature is going to shoot up ever more and ever more as we get this 45-minute race underway. We may have to talk about tire management at the end of this here, Paul.
We did have it said in the YouTube chat as well that Tim Perry has gone and held his hand up and apologised to Jack Osborne for the incident that happened at this very corner at turn number 3, and that is a bit the spirit of this championship as well. People will hold their hand up where they've made a mistake, and there's nothing malicious in it. It was just an honest mistake, was that incident, and yeah, quite rightly just held his hand up and has apologised for that. So we should have some good racing here for the final time this season. It has been 21 races gone. One more race to go here today, and Lewis Ward finds himself in the perfect place to be, on pole position. The problem is he's got a feisty Adam Watson alongside him.
Yeah, Adam Watson's got to look to try and impress. He wants to seal the deal in that Pro-Am Championship fight. Those are two very thirsty drivers at the front row on this start coming up here in a couple of moments' time, because Lewis Ward, he's not had a very good season up to this point. He's going to look to try and get something at the very end in race number 22 of the season. Let's see if the driver of the number 22 car will be able to get the win. But it has been a privilege to be a part of this season up to this point, Paul. We got one more 45-minute long race in front of us, two thirsty drivers at the front of the field, one more championship left to be determined. Let's get this going.
Yeah, this should be an absolute cracker of a race. Watch out for Dino Lombardi starting on 11th place on the 6th row of the grid. He'll be wanting to make a charge through and win the last race of the season. Well, we're all set then. Round number 22 of season 17 of the World GT Championship is going to be underway then. Green flag in the air, and Lewis Ward takes us away for Series 1 racing as we head into turn number 1 then. for the first time in this race. Onto the brakes, cold tyres and brakes for these drivers as they head through turn 1. And it's Lewis Ward who gets a bad run out of turn number 1. Here comes Adam Watson for the race lead. It's absolutely neck and neck between the two Porsches. And here comes Richard Simner in that Ford Mustang, the grunt of the Mustang. But no, he can't get through. Adam Watson does though. He takes the lead of the race over Lewis Ward. Here comes Simner though. He's not giving up on second place. Oh, big accident at the back.
Yeah, big one. You can see two cars auguring straight into the wall, and that was one of the Racing Lab Esports cars. That was Anders Meyer, a disastrous run for the driver who's been oh so close to grabbing victories thus far this season in that pro category. Not gonna get done in the final race of this season. He will have a dry streak in all 22 races, as there's been a big one out of turn 4.
Oh, Adam Hedgecock's involved in that. Josh Boot as well, one of the Team Heap Together cars as well. I could tell you that the other driver involved in that incident with Anders Meyer was Matthias Birhanen. He was involved in that one on lap number 1 at turn number 3. I'm sure we'll get some replays a little bit later on in this one. But drama on the opening lap, but Tokyo isn't looking backwards. He's going forwards here in this one ahead of Ethan Critchley. As they come across the line then, it's Adam Watson ahead of Lewis Ward. Richard Simner in third place ahead of Tim Perry. Aidan Carter, Dan McCauley has lost the place to Aidan Carter in this race. Castellani, Lombardi's up 3 places into 8th ahead of Tompkins, and Webster in 10th.
And as you went through that top 10, there was one driver that stood out to me the most, and it was right in the middle. Aidan Carter in that number 43 Onid Racing Corvette. It was 13th win in that AM category earlier on today. Aidan Carter's got to look to try and impress in the final race of this season. In race number 2, we had a Pro-Am driver of Nikolai Agard take that overall race win. Haven't had a non-pro driver win a race overall since. If anyone's going to do it, it's probably going to be Aidan Carter.
If Aidan Carter was in Pro-Am, he would be fighting with Adam Watson for the title right now. That's how many points he has got this season here as Dino Lombardi round the outside of Dan McCauley. That's a good move there to get him up into 7th place in this race. Well, we've not got a safety car, he says, and certainly we've not actually seen that many safety cars this season. It's been a testament to the driving standards this season compared to some previous seasons. Now here's what's happened to Anders Meyer. Oh, he's stuck on the inside line, and then it's going to be 3 abreast, a little bit of a squeeze, and Meyer and Pirhanen squeezed out to the outside line there.
As we take a look at another angle of this incident heading through turn number 2, I raised this earlier on in this broadcast during race number 1. That corner is maybe the toughest around this racetrack, especially on lap 1 when you're in the midst of an absolute hornet's nest like those two drivers will. That section of the racetrack bottlenecks so much. It is unbelievable as we see a round of bowling the corner that precedes it. That is into turn number 4 with Janman Pruis, the real unfortunate victim in all of that.
Yeah, that was Adam Hedgecock. Now, I don't know, I think he might have been a little bit of assistance down there. He lost control, hit the inside of Josh Boot's car, which snookered into Janman Pruis. That's the, you won't get this reference wrong, that was the John Virgo Trick Shot of the Day award. It's that one. Fantastic attempt at a little bit of a cannon, as it's known in snooker. Now, Ethan Critchley, 16th place right now, behind David Baker. Baker is one of those drivers who's been steady away in the teens pretty much all season long for him, and he's once again 15th place right now for David. I've spoken to him off broadcast, and he was saying that he's not quite got the pace that he used to have in the series after a couple of seasons away from the championship. And it goes to show that if you've got the time to be able to put into practice, but also to have that sort of season on season running, if you don't get that, you can really lose out onto some of the other drivers.
You know, when it comes to being comfortable in a series as competitive as this, just being in that comfort zone is huge to try and do well. If you aren't feeling comfortable, if you aren't feeling confident, if you have to try and get yourself back into the swing of things running in a series like this, you're not going to be able to get that on 100% out of your race car and out of yourself week after week. And we have seen that a little bit throughout this season. These drivers looking to return to the series and get back into the swing of things. As look at that 2x2 racing coming at turn number 4. These drivers clearly deciding that even though there's 39.5 minutes left on the clock, they're still treating every single lap like it's the last.
Arthur Thurtle and Michael Evdurka side by side then as they go through the infield. We have had a question, by the way, what do the different colours on the drivers' numbers mean? Well, the yellow of Adam Watson, who's at the top of the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, that means that he's a Pro-Am class driver. The green number of Lewis Ward, who's in second place on that timing tower, means that he's a Pro class driver. And the red number of Aiden Carter, who's 5th overall in this race, he's an AM class driver. So that's what the different colours mean. And Aiden Carter just losing a place to Lorenzo Castellani as here we go down the inside into turn number 1. That's Arthur Thurtle moving forward on the Porsche of Michael, not of Michael Evdurka, sorry, it's Adam State as Ethan Critchley making a move on David Baker.
Yeah, Ethan Critchley has been a pretty nice driver to follow over the past couple of rounds of this season. Came in a tick over the halfway mark. I think it was right before the final third of this season was when Ethan Critchley came in here. But he's been a good driver to follow in that number 97 machine. Just has not really been able to get into the big swing of things. Of course, entered the season late, so not really going to be involved in that championship discussion. But these drivers, though, you can see them oh so late into the braking zone through into turn number 4. That turn is probably, as far as I'm concerned, the toughest corner around this racetrack. You've got downhill braking zone, an off-camber corner, and you've got like basically a small little landing strip if you own a remote control helicopter, and then gravel. Nothing but gravel. The exit of that turn, if you have a big crash at the start of this race, can get turned into a rally special stage. So of all the corners around this racetrack, I'd probably say that turn 4 is one of the most difficult.
We have had Anders Meyer has left the server. He's had drama out there, and it's spun the car around at turn number 3, and that is going to be the end of his day. A rather disappointing end to his season. David Mendonca's come down onto pit road very early, along with Will Guthrie. Will Guthrie, remember, was fighting for 3rd place in Pro-Am, fighting for the Pro-Am Championship, should I say, and it's contact. Oh, now Mendonca seemed to lose it, and Guthrie with his innocent party in that one.
Yeah, Mendonca having a big impact into the tire bundles right on pit entry. It definitely wasn't intentional at all in terms of those two drivers making that run through the pits. But that section of the racetrack is very, very challenging indeed. Even if you aren't deciding to come down pit lane, the track limits around there can be super, super tough. You hit some of those anti-cut curbs around there, and you're going to be bouncing up into the air and striking the moon if you hit them in a very special way. I remember one time flipping at Fuji, hitting one of the curbs coming out of the final turn. So those anti-cut, sausage, baguette, whatever you want to call them, curbs, they go together with the GT3 about as poorly as two things possibly could.
Sausage curbs have nowhere in the world of motorsport. That is just my opinion, and I will stick with it, in my opinion. Yep.
I'm going to spin a yarn from my own racing adventures. I think I've talked about this a little bit throughout this season. Before I really got into this broadcasting stuff, I'd spent about 10 years in karts, and the reason why I had to get out of it is because of my back. Now, a go-kart has no suspension. The only thing that you really have to absorb the bumps is yourself. So that's not too big of a representation, but a small little bump around some of those racetracks, that adds up to the point where my back is screwed up for life. We shouldn't be doing that to professional racing drivers at their own real circuits. I'm just going to say it right now, speaking of bumping,
that was a heavy impact then from the 33.
Whoa!
This is always going to end in drama, and it's always going to end up with a bit of a how shall we say, a contest. I won't say what type of contest it is between the three of them, but the number 33 then of Alicia Bonino came absolutely flying in to turn number 3, whacked onto the side of Alex Davidson in that one. Davidson didn't take too kind to it. Now, he shouldn't be taking things into his own hands on corner exit and giving the old squeeze, because it actually disadvantaged one of his compatriots in David Baker in all of that. So yeah, Davidson letting the red mist come to the fruition as Baker giving the squeeze there to James Boumé. Boumé wakes it through and bang into the door panel goes the 07 car of Alex Cohen. Now Cohen's got to be careful here because he could potentially beat Anders Meyer into 4th place in Pro. Cohen, the big lunge on the inside of turn number 1. Oh, things are getting a bit feisty out there.
Last time I saw racing this spicy, I'm pretty sure I had to drink a glass of milk. It was that spicy. This is insane that we're seeing from these racers. And look at that. Holy cow. Swapping sides, heading down some of these straightaways. I don't have a good feeling about this battle, if I'm being completely honest, Paul. These drivers have been seeing the red mist here at the Red Bull Ring. It has definitely descended here in the final round of the championship. You got a mix of drivers who are looking to try and hold on to everything they've got, and other drivers who have just about nothing to lose. That can be a good combination for us in the broadcast booth, but for some of the fabricators who have to repair these cars, it is about as close of a nightmare scenario as you can get.
Well, don't forget, it's a big championship fight in pro teams between 07 and WSR Esports Butt Kicker, who, by the way, Alex Davidson is the lead driver in right now in terms of the points, overall points in the championship. So 07 wanted to desperately try and get that pro teams championship for them, as now actually David Baker is potentially losing another place in all of that, and down the places he goes now for Baker. And that's Jack Osborne, who's gone through, the Pro-Am driver, doing all that he can. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, it's not been noticed by many people, but Richard Simner has made his way past Lewis Ward. So it's 2 Pro-Am drivers who head the field ahead of Lewis Ward. Your top pro driver, Castellani and Lombardi, though, are right there with them.
Yeah, you are still not out of the woods if you are the drivers at the front of this field. Still have 32.5 minutes of racing action left to go before the fall of the checkered flag. If you're Adam Watson, though, what are you thinking when it comes to that battle? We got a 1.3 second gap between yourself and Richard Simnor, but as we saw in that opening race of the evening, a gap like that can disappear with the snap of a finger. So these drivers may have to play it a little bit careful. Not going to see some lap traffic involved in this battle, even with some of the drama that we've had thus far in this race. I say that, I'm pretty sure there is a lapped car a little bit farther up the road from Adam Watson, so these drivers clearly designed to play me like a fiddle. But nonetheless, Watson, what are you going to do if you are him? Are you going to try and just keep your nose to the grindstone, not get up involved in any sort of drama, because you're in the catbird seat to win the Pro-Am championship? You don't really have anything to gain to fight this too hard.
It wasn't since March the 31st that we saw a different overall winner in the race than Dino Lombardi and James Boumé. Now, you could still see Lombardi move forward in this field and get himself into the overall lead of this race. So don't write him out of this one, but it has certainly been since that last endurance round. Marley Joff, remember, winning the race at Road Atlanta, has looked to the inside of Lewis Ward from Castellani. He jumps on it, and Lombardi, you don't have to ask him twice. He's going to follow him through. So 3rd and 4th place for Castellani and Lombardi.
And, you know, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier on in the second half of the broadcast, Paul. We can't rule out Dino Lombardi just saying, you know what? Hey, I won the championship. Let's just go for all-out glory with a walk-off victory. I can't rule that out at all. Dino Lombardi finding himself in P4, that's a pretty good spot if you are Lombardi, with still 30.5 minutes of racing action left to go. That driver, the number 78 car, he is an unstoppable force this series. And you got the season season kicked off in style with a win at the Nürburgring, and he's looking to end this season off in style with a win at the Red Bull Ring.
Lombardi wanting to score a single run at cricket and ends up getting a 6 over the boundary. That's pretty much what he's doing. Or bottom of the 9th, getting the home run to win the match. Now into pit road goes one of your cars. So pit stops are starting to happen. Here is a contact there on the corner exit. Webster and Davidson onto pit road then for those two drivers. Tokyo was getting involved then with James Boumet through the final corner and Arthur Thurtle in all of that battle. That is for 16th place overall here in this one. But at the front it's still Watson from Simner, Castellani, Lombardi, Ward, Tim Perry in 6th ahead of Sedgwick, Carter and McCauley. You can't separate those two here today. Those two are still together. Michael Avdoka rounds out your top 10.
You know, this is going to be a rather interesting phrase to say. We may have a battle in that AM category, right? As I say that, though, I think Dan McCauley got shown the door coming out of turn number 2 a couple of moments ago. He's dropped down behind Michael Avdoka, who has jumped his way up into 9th. But we may end up seeing a battle for the AM lead. I mean, Aiden Carter been on a generational run as of recent. It was his 13th win earlier on this afternoon. I think I said as we're wrapping up the first half of the show, the fact that if it wasn't for Ben Gregory winning earlier on in this season, Aiden Carter would have 14 straight. That is absolutely unbelievable. Even to be in a position to have 13 wins in 21 races is unbelievable. But hey, may end up seeing a battle flare up in that AM category as drivers still trickling their way into the pits.
Ethan Critchett, Alicia Benino and Arthur Thurtle, David Baker as well, all onto pit road right now for their pit stop. They saw how if you can get into a bit of fresh air and a bit of clean air, you're able to actually get a bunch of places over everybody else that you're stuck in a fight with. So definitely getting that clean air can be advantageous. Now Castellani is all over the back of that DCW Racing Ford Mustang of Richard Simner. Simner's not going to fight this one too hard. Castellani to the inside. Now is Lombardi going to follow him through in all of this? Well, Lombardi's there, loitering with intent, but no, Simner slots in behind Castellani, so the 07 driver moves up. Oh, Lombardi! Almost contact between him and Simner as they go through the left-hander. Simner goes a little deep through into this left-right section.
And heading off through the mid-sector of this racetrack, which is just absolutely torturous on the tires of these race cars. Getting back to the point that we raised a little bit earlier on, is Simner trying to withstand that challenge from Dino Lombardi. It's a side-by-side fight heading off through the last corner. Lombardi trying to find any way in the book to get that move done, but Simner still withstanding that challenge for now. This is going to be a heads-up brawl between these two drivers down into turn number 1. Lombardi holding on to that inside line, going to take the P3 spot as Simner with a sideways snap out of turn number 1.
He had to check up as well on that one. He thought he'd got the better run, but then he didn't. He's now got people behind looking to make some moves. Jack Sedgwick and Lewis Ward have changed positions behind them, so changed positions for those. And now Simner's under some serious pressure from a former champion in Jack Sedgwick here. Well, Lombardi's up to 3rd place, Castellani's up to 2nd, Adam Watson will be looking in his rearview mirror and thinking, oh no, here they come, as Sedgwick to the outside of 4. That's brave, and that's not worked out for him.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out too well as of late. These drivers still treating every single lap as if it is the last. In the first 19 minutes of this race, these drivers have been throwing just about anything at the wall and seeing what sticks. I will say, though, Paul, one thing that's starting to stick a little bit better is the tires. Despite the fact I said right before the drop of the green flag that we were probably going to see these track temperatures get even higher, currently at 89 degrees Fahrenheit, so we are slowly but surely lowering down when it comes to that track temperature, and with it, the grip is just skyrocketing for these cars as they get into a bit more of a comfortable window.
Yeah, it's certainly helping. I mean, to be honest, we're late into the afternoon in sim as well. It's 3:45 in the afternoon in sim, so we've passed that sort of peak in terms of the midday into mid-afternoon temperature, so we should start seeing that temperature just decrease slightly with mostly cloudy sky as well. Jack Sedgwick putting the pressure on Richard Simner into turn number 3. Simner though shows him the outside and says, do you want to go past me, sunshine? You got to go the long way around. And Sedgwick not able to do that so far in that Corvette as they go up over the top of the hill and then plunge downhill. Such a tricky braking zone to get absolutely right here. He's going to try and carry the speed around the outside of 4 again. Simner has to give him the space and a little rub, and into the gravel goes Jack Sedgwick.
And that's going to be a quick off-track excursion for the driver of the number 11 car. One driver that I don't think we have talked about too much is a driver that just got moved on to jump his way up into P10. Aiden Young in the 427 car. He's had a pretty good season up to this point, and from past experience covering Young, he is a very quick driver here on the iRacing platform. He's been rather impressive up to this point in this season. I'm going to have to take a look, but I don't believe he's grabbed a win thus far in the AM category, but he's not the AM category, the pro category, I should say. The driver of the 427 car, though, incredibly quick. Let's see how it's going to shake out in the final race. Probably not going to be a win, but still going to be quick as Carter coming down pit lane.
Yeah, Aiden Carter, your AM champion, onto pit road, decided now's the time to do it, and Jack Sedgwick decided now's the time to pounce. Through turn 1 he goes, onto the inside and through on Richard Simner. It's a drag race between the All-American muscle, Chevy versus Ford, into the hairpin, and it's the Corvette that comes out on top over the Mustang as Jack Sedgwick now moves up into 4th place. The two pros of Castellani and Dino Lombardi are gaining on Adam Watson through all of this. Watson's last lap was a 30.0 compared to a 29.9 of Castellani, 29.3 for Dino Lombardi. Incredible stuff from Lombardi.
Yeah, Dino Lombardi, despite the fact he's already got the deal sealed when it comes to that pro championship, he's still, again, we talked about him just being like, you know what would be a good way to end this season? A walk-off victory. I think he may be gunning for that in the number 78 car. I'm being completely honest. He certainly has the speed to try and contend with it. The real question is, though, as he's had to charge his way through the field, what sort of fuel numbers is Dino Lombardi getting? Is he starting to save a little bit? Will he have a shorter run down pit lane? We saw from James Boumet in the first race of the evening that, hey, getting that better fuel number can make a huge difference at the end of this race. And how's Adam Watson doing at the front of the field? That Porsche, that 291, has been punching that hole in the air, and outside of a couple of lap traffic encounters every now and then, he has not had the draft from anybody. So Adam Watson may be in a rough spot when it comes to fuel.
Cameron De Pastos and number 23, which is Simon Andre Livingston, were both at a standstill in the penultimate corner, so something has happened to those two. Simon Andre Livingston's taken a tour back to pit road, so 2 and 2 together tells me that something's happened between the two of them, and yeah, that is either there's been a failure for Simon Andre Livingston or something has happened between the two of them and Livingston has just taken things into their own hands.
I'm not sure if that's my judgment to make there, if I'm being completely honest. It may have had some sort of brake pedal failure. Yeah, we'll leave that to the stewards. I used to do race control. I don't want to do that again. I'm about 6 months removed from that, and I want to leave those race control nightmares behind.
Been there, done it, worn the t-shirt, got shouted at. Yep, I'm quite happily here in the commentary booth. Thank you very much for all of that. As we go across the line again, it's a race for the lead then. Lorenzo Castellani is trying to do it for 07 Racing to get the result to hold on to the Pro Teams Championship for 07 Racing. Adam Watson He doesn't need to get involved in any shenanigans. He'll want to get the best result that he can to finish off the season, but he's got to have his sensible hat on, and that is exactly what he's done. Allowed Castellani the space to go through. He realizes that those two behind him are quicker than him. Can maybe do a little bit of fuel saving if he slots in.
Yeah, despite the fact that that Acura just is a smaller car compared to that Porsche, 2 cars in front of you, that's going to create a big window of air where you can slip in tow and just say, hey, thank you very much. I'll take the draft. I'll take the better fuel numbers, and I won't have to worry about fending you 2 drivers off. It's now Lorenzo Castellani and Dino Lombardi in P1 and P2. That'll be a battle for the overall win for one final time this season. Lombardi, he's been in this position before. The 5-car of Lorenzo Castellani, haven't really seen him contend for these overall victories thus far this season. So we've got 2 drivers with 2 completely different missions in mind in the final round of this championship.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if I'm Dino Lombardi, I want to get a race win to finish off the season in style. But if I'm Castellani, I want to hold on to that as much as possible to get the best points possible for the team in the championship, because they are racing against WSR Esports Butt Kicker, don't forget, as well, because WSR Esports Butt Kicker have got Davidson, they've got Critchley, and they've got Evdoka in their lineup right now. Davidson was one of the first to come onto pit road with a planned stop. Evdoka's just come onto pit road right now, and Critchley, where's Ethan? He's right behind his teammate of Davidson. They've both been onto pit road. So the WSR Esports Butt Kicker team have all pitted, whereas 07 Castellani leads the race, and no, he's not pitted. Alex Cohen has not pitted. What about Benino? He has pitted. He's down in 21st place as things stand right now.
And we're getting into that section of the race as well, Paul, where we're going to see a vast majority of these competitors make that run to come down pit lane. 18 and a half minutes left to go in not just this race, not just this round, but the season as a whole. Lots of different drivers looking to prove they're worth it. But for Adam Watson, this is going to be an 18-minute dash to the end where you just have to avoid a falling anvil, whether you have to get that Acme grade umbrella over your head to make sure it doesn't crash down your head or what. That's the goal if you are Adam Watson. Just don't run into any difficulties and you're going to be golden.
So hard hat needed. Roger that. That's good to know. As Castellani and Lombardi still absolutely together. Now Lombardi, we saw in the first race how he was able to save some fuel, was able to jump some people in the pit stops. As Simner and Tompkins now come onto pit road along with Jack London, the latest pit stoppers. We're reaching towards the end of the pit stop cycle here in this race as one of our lap traffic gets out of the way. That's Cameron de Bastos moving out the way of the race leaders here in this final race of the season. Lombardi getting pretty close, trying to make the move for the overall race lead.
And let's see how this is all going to shake out for Dino Lombardi. It's not a lot between these 2 drivers at the north end of the field. They've kind of driven away from everybody else. Adam Watson dropping down a little bit farther behind as well. I think the stress of him running in that lead spot has really overcooked the tires on that race car again, despite the fact the track conditions have cooled off quite a lot from where they were at the drop of the green flag. It's still getting hot. It's actually a little bit warmer now than it was a matter of a couple of laps ago. It's only increased by a couple of degrees Fahrenheit, but something's gone on with Watson's tires, which could be the reason why he's made that call to come down pit lane from 3rd in this race. The Pro-Am Championship leader heading into this final race down pit lane.
And looking to secure that Pro-Am Championship. Remember, his closest rival, Jack Osborne, had a nightmare in race number 1 of the evening. Wasn't able to take advantage of Watson and Guthrie being behind him in terms of starting from the back of the grid for those 2 in particular. And Watson was able to pull away that championship lead to 59 points. So Watson just needs to finish today. But if you're given the opportunity of getting an overall podium, you're going to damn well sure he's going to make the most of it. That is for sure. Adam Tompkins has got a black flag out there and was at a standstill. He's taken a tour back to pit road, so he's had some drama out there. We've still got 8 drivers, sorry. Oh, it was a pit stop.
Yeah, these pit stops in these 45-minute long races, that's really what decides it all. I think I was talking about this a little bit earlier on this broadcast. As much as we've seen so many drivers find ways to get past each other, it's also a track where if you have a little bit of argy-bargy action, some drivers being and banging and roughing each other up, you may end up running into some difficulties, either picking up some damage, going off the track, or running into some difficulties as there's a swap-a-roo for the race lead.
Well, there was for a moment. Well, Castellani's come onto pit road. That's why there was a swap. So Castellani onto pit road for his pit stop. Jack Sedgwick and Aidan Young following him onto pit road. But crucially, Dino Lombardi able to go 1 lap longer. Does that mean he's been able to do enough fuel saving in that car to be able to try and get the jump at the next pit stop?
1 more lap this entire season. It can be decided at the end of this race by just 1 more lap. Look at that run through the pit lane for Jack Sedgwick. That is very quick in the 11 car. That's going to do him quite some favors there. But Castellani coming down pit lane, breaking away from Lombardi as Adam Watson staying out there yet again. You can see him just barely in the back of shot. He's currently slotted in P3. Sedgwick has been able to jump in front of a lot of the field. That's worked out very well for the driver of the number 11 Corvette.
Yeah, Sedgwick moving ahead of Watson in the pit stops then here in this championship finale. It is round number 22 of season 17 of the World GT Championship. It's been a pleasure to have you all along here, joining us all the way through our coverage here on RaceSpotTV. And well, it is Castellani who has pitted. It's Lombardi who owes us a pit stop, and I would imagine that Lombardi will head onto pit road this lap time and to make his final pit stop of the season. Whether he can get the jump though, as yes, onto pit road, Constantino Lombardi, your pro champion in that Grid and Go Esports car, what would he do? And what would he like to get and secure this championship with a race win?
As I've said a lot throughout this second half of the broadcast, a walk-off win will be the perfect way to end this season if you are Dino Lombardi. He's out and away, 11.7 seconds, stopped in his pit stall. Let's see if he'll get the jump as he hits that pit lane line.
Oh, he's going to be miles ahead. Here comes Castellani then. I say miles ahead. He's going to be ahead. Now, Castellani's got the run out of turn number 1. We're going to see what we saw in race number 1. Lombardi's got to get up to speed here. I didn't see his car go up onto the jacks, though, so I don't think he took tyres in that pit stop. Here comes Castellani to the inside of 3. And Lombardi's not going to fight that one too hard, but you would imagine that Lombardi's going to try and fight and get the race win towards the end of this race. 12.5 minutes remain in the championship here this evening. It's Lorenzo Castellani looking for his first pro win. I do believe, just quickly looking through our records here, it's been certainly been quite a while since we've had another pro winner outside of Lombardi and Boumet, and yeah, it would be Castellani's first race win if he's able to hold on to that lead. But well, when you've got a pro champion and a man who is on a mission, then you've got a tough ask behind you in Dino Lombardi. Jack Sedgwick, the former champion, don't forget, he's in 3rd place overall. He's wanting to get a race win to finish off the season. Adam Watson, though, 4th place, leading in Pro-Am this evening, and he's done a sterling job from the front row of the grid in this second race. Leading Am in this one, surprise, surprise, it's Aidan Carter.
Wow, that is a shocker to end all shockers. That is the first time that has happened in quite some time. Aidan Carter, the drive of a lifetime from the number 43 Onid Racing Corvette, in that familiar spot, leading a bit of a train right now, coming out of turn number 1, down this straightaway, off it to turn number 2 in a couple of moments' time. Not a very comfortable spot if you're Aidan Carter, but hey, enter this race with that championship, not the championship lead, the championship point-blank period in the class. Doesn't have too much to lose or gain in this race, as I think will allow that car on the inside line to maybe get the move done. This is a fight between Carter and Torquio heading down into turn number 4. Let's see how it's all going to shake out at the end of this flat-out blast. And look at that, a little bit farther in the back, contact being made.
Yeah, that was Adam State making a little bit of contact there with the number 95 of Alex Cohen. Now, don't forget that Alex Cohen had the potential of moving ahead of Anders Meyer in this final race. Remember, Anders Meyer has retired from this race. He'll be scoring no points here in this final race of the evening. He had a nightmare of an opening race as well in terms of comparing to James Boumé and Alex Davidson here today. So it's been a mixed bag for a few of his drivers here today, and Lombardi has been showing his nose to Castellani in front. He wants to move forward. Tim Perry's got a slow down penalty down in 10th place. That'll give an opportunity to Richard Simner, as still we've got Cohen involved in that fight with Adam State, and there's Tim Perry giving up the time, and that's Simner and also Lewis Ward, who started on pole position, through into 10th and 11th.
And quickly here, Paul, I do want to raise one thing talking about that Lorenzo Castellani and Dino Lombardi fight. Seeing Lombardi just pull out of the draft more often than not, hang down some of the flat-out blasts, whether he's just trying to save his stuff up towards the very end of this race. Certainly a battle of great proportions between those two would probably bring in the likes of Jack Sedgwick and Adam Watson a little bit farther behind, and that's probably not what Dino Lombardi wants. But I do want to say there was a little bit of confusion as to whether or not he took tires. I looked, he was up on the jacks. So Dino Lombardi did take tires in that pit stop, whether he took 4 tires or 2 or whatever he decided to do. Lombardi is still going to be just as strong as ever. Let's see how it's going to work, though. Castellani's still holding on to the race lead, and he has 8.5 minutes to try and hold on to grab his first win.
This is why we have you here, Ron. It's to correct me when I make a mistake. I didn't see the car go up, but you're absolutely right. It will be 2 tyres. With how long the pit stops are in these races, it will be the rears more than likely.
Yeah, I like how you say that. I'm here to correct you. I usually speak in tongues during these broadcasts, so whatever corrections I may have, it seems like just total keyboard smash in comparison.
Well, we've got 8 minutes remaining in the season then, and it's pretty close between the 2 leaders at the front of the field, although they're not going to be swapping places for the time being. Castellani and Lombardi at the front, but this is Torquio and Tim Perry in that fight for 12th place here in this one. Torquio's up 4 places from where he started in this one. Aidan Carter's gone down, he's gone backwards 8 places to 14th, but quite frankly, an AM driver all the way up there in the field, certainly doing a good job indeed. Jack Sedgwick just hasn't been able to match the pace of the front 2, and Aidan Carter actually putting the pressure on Alex Cohen, who made the move to the inside of the AM driver.
Yeah, and as we approach the end of this race, I think we're going to see different cars and different drivers kind of come into their own towards the end of this race. Some drivers may be a bit more methodical in terms of how they've been attacking the racing up to this point, and maybe saving their stuff up right towards the very end. I've talked about this a lot throughout this broadcast. I will raise it up yet again. Track temperature is still rather hot at about 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Ambient temperatures looking at about 71. So that is certainly a lot warmer than it was in that first race this evening, but it's kind of the same that we've seen all throughout, and maybe just a little bit colder than we've had in recent stages. So that small little difference can make a huge difference when it comes to the tires.
Lombardi not able to get close enough to make a dive to the inside of turn number 3. Jack Sedgwick right there. Actually, he gained about a 10th or so on Castellani at the front of the field. It's just that Lombardi is able to go just to match the pace of Jack Sedgwick, who is in 3rd place in that Chevy Corvette. So 6 minutes remaining of the championship. It has been an absolute pleasure, as always, to bring you this championship here on RaceSpotTV and to give you the excitement of this World GT Championship. Season 8, as I said earlier, was the first season that we covered this championship, and it has been a staple of our calendar pretty much since then, and it certainly has produced some high drama and also some tremendous moments throughout the years. But we've seen a tremendous drive from Dino Lombardi to take the Pro Championship. Can he seal this with a win? The person he's got to get past is Lorenzo Castellani, and right now he's not able to do that.
Yeah, and this is going to be a fight of two drivers who have very different mindsets in the final stages of this final race of the season. Lombardi, he already has the championship. That's done and dusted. He has nothing else to prove. He just wants to grab a race win. Castellani, on the other hand, he wants to end this season, which has seen its up and downs, on the best note imaginable to really hit the ground running come time for season 18 here, the World GT Championship, in the not too far off future. But as we continue to see these drivers run nose to tail heading down into turn number 4 there, I wonder if Jack Sedgwick is maybe going to get involved in that battle too. He's been quick in the 11 car, and he's in the catbird seat if these two drivers maybe come to blows.
Now, it's going to be important for Castellani to try and hang on to that win, because 07, remember, are involved in a close championship in pro teams with the WSR Esports Bookkicker team. 38 points separate them after that first race of this evening. That's provisional, of course. That can always change after stewards' decisions, which are always post-event here in this championship. But 07 will want to do everything that they can to try and hold on to that. The problem for them is Alex Davidson and Ethan Critchley are 6th and 7th overall. The next best 07 driver after Castellani is going to be Alex Cohen, who's in 13th, because Bonino's down in 16th.
And when it comes to that team's championship battle, I was just waiting to see whether or not we were going to have Lombardi maybe pull out there heading down that straightaway off into turn number 2. But when it comes to that team championship battle, you could do a lot of heavy lifting, but at the same time, your teammates also have to rise to acclaim as well. Not really seeing that from 07 at the present moment. If Lorenzo Castellani can hold on to this race win, his teammates are going to be so obviously very happy for him, but that is going to be a perfect result for the team. They probably want the other team cars to be a little bit farther up the running order, but if he can hang on, he will be doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to that, at least for this race.
By the way, the prizes for the championship, if you finish as first place in the teams, all the drivers in either Pro or AM Teams Championship do get themselves a trophy for that. In terms of the individual drivers championships, as Bonino's fallen backwards here in the field, the top 3 in each class get a trophy, but they also get, for first place in Pro, you get a GT Elite wheel plate edition, ERS 3 seats, and an Elite Direct monitor mount from Next Level Racing. You also, for Pro-Am, you get a GT Elite Light wheel plate edition, and for the first place in AM, a GT Racer. All of those from Next Level Racing as prizes. So there are prizes up for the drivers, and Free M UK is to be confirmed after the series what prizes the 3 different classes get from Free M. Of course, one of the long-time supporters of this championship. Pleasure to have them still here supporting this championship. But less than 2 minutes remain here, and it's still pretty close at the front. But for me, Lombardi's not making any moves. I think Castellani and the 07 team will have said to him, look, please, we want the win.
Have mercy.
We need the win.
That would be it for me. I would just say, have mercy on us. Let us have this one little thing. You've already won your millions. You've already grabbed all these race wins this season. You already have that championship. Just please lay behind us. It's still going to be an Acura 1-2. It may not be the exact same team, but it's still going to be good. That white flag is in the air. Only one more lap of racing action from this race and this season. Castellani, I think if he has that run coming out of turn number 3 and he still holds on to the race lead, he's probably going to be golden. Lombardi, if he is going to pass, it's probably going to be now.
Lewis Ward has got a slow down penalty, and Alex Cohen, that'll be giving him an opportunity to maybe move forward. And defensive disline here from Castellani into turn number 3. Now, can Lombardi get the run out of the corner to head the run down towards turn number 4? He's weaving in the tracks. He's trying to get his attention, but he's not close enough. I think Castellani is going to hang on to this, and I think Lombardi is playing a little bit of rear gunner here for Lorenzo Castellani, and it would be a tremendous win for Lorenzo. It would be his first win in the championship if he's able to hold on to this. Jack Sedgwick, he's not close enough to get involved in this one and to try and affect things, but as they come through towards the end of the lap, 07 Racing, well, what an introduction to the series, and what a boon it has been for the series to have this team on board. And they have done a sterling job, and this would be their very first win overall in this championship. Through the final corner, Lorenzo Castellani is a new race winner in the World GT Championship for 07 Racing. Sensational stuff for him to get that result here today. Adam Watson finishes 4th in Pro-Am and takes the Pro-Am win to finish off his season. Aiden Carter, yet another. That's what, 14 AM wins for Aiden Carter this season. Absolutely sensational stuff. But my goodness, Ron, what a day for Lorenzo Castellani to get his first ever win in the championship and to try and help his team hang on to that Pro Teams championship.
It was a mighty drive from the number 5 car of Lorenzo Castellani. A brilliant way to get your first win in this series, having to withstand a worldly amount of pressure from not the reigning champion, the champion, who had literally sealed the deal a matter of about an hour beforehand. It was a very good drive from the driver of the number 5 of Lorenzo Castellani. It's his first win in the championship. It's his only win this season, but he's going to have a whole lot of momentum. He's got to be feeling good about himself come time for next season here in the World GT Championship.
The Italian team, they'll be delighted with that, and why wouldn't they be? Sensational stuff. The final results will be coming up very shortly indeed as we get our provisional results set, and well, Castellani, he'll be over the moon with that one. But here are then your provisional race results then for round 22 of season 17 of the World GT Championship, and it is Lorenzo Castellani's first ever win in the series for 07 Racing, ahead of Dino Lombardi, your Grid and Go esports driver who's won Pro Championship here today. Jack Sedgwick for NX Racing finishes in 3rd, and Adam Watson, with that win in Pro-Am, takes himself the Pro-Am Championship once again here today. A multiple-time Pro-Am champion for Adam Watson. Michael Avdoka ahead of Ethan Critchley with Alex Davidson. The 3WSR esports butt kicker cars together 5th, 6th and 7th ahead of Aidan Young, James Boumé, and Richard Simner holds on to 10th place. Alex Cohen able to move up to 11th for 07 Racing ahead of Alessandro Torchio. What a race it's been, and what a season it's been for him. Lewis Ward 13th ahead of your AM champion for Unid Racing, Aidan Carter. Adam State ahead of Tim Perry, Alicia Bonino, Dan McCauley, Paul Webster and Arthur Thurtle. Then it's Jack Osborne ahead of David Baker, Matthias Pirhanen and Jonathan Walker. Ben Altria, Dan Blackwell, Phil Samways from Jack London, Ben Gregory and Taylor Lane round out your top 30. 31st for Yaman Pruis with Cameron De Bastos and Jesse Payne Wilkins rounding out the finishers. or the lead lap finishers, should I say. Adam Hedgecott, Will Guthrie and Stephen Koenig 1 lap down, and then those that did not finish: Michael Gray, Adam Tompkins, Simon Andre Livingston, David Mendonca, and then the final few drivers: Joe Newman, Andy Shield, Josh Booth and Anders Meyer rounds out your 44 car field. Well, it's been a tremendous season for a number of our drivers, and we will get to speak to a few of them momentarily, but the first person that we do want to speak to, and it's tradition to speak to him, is series administrator Andy Shield. Now, unfortunately, we still can't move Andy into our broadcast booth, so we're going to have to move to the waiting room. So just give us a moment whilst we sort that out.
Guys had some stutters.
And here we are then with Andy Shield. Andy, it's tradition for us to speak to you at the end of a season. That is for sure. First of all, let's just quickly touch on the nightmare that has been your races today here. It didn't go well for you, did it?
Not today, no. It was a bit of a rough ride this evening, but we move on. It'll be better racing next time.
Yeah, certainly you'll be hoping for better next time out. But let's look at the season as a whole from a series administrator's point of view. For me, I personally think that this has been a fantastic season once again of the World GT Championship. What's the admin's point of view?
I think it's just great to see so many different people racing this season and have really got stuck in. Obviously, congratulations provisionally to Dino, Adam and Aidan on the championship wins, as well as 07 Racing and Altitude Esports by Mr. Hedge on the Pro and Am teams championships respectively. But I think the participation all season has been great. The standard of driving in terms of pace across the board has been very, very close, and we've seen that with some real standout drives from some of the AM drivers, some of the Pro Am drivers who've really mixed up some of the Pro guys during qualifying. So I think we'll probably need to take a look at how we benchmark drivers going forward to try and ensure we obviously have the categories as polished as possible. But overall, we're very happy with how it's run, the participation levels, and some great racing along the way.
And of course, the change of how the season runs as well, in terms of having that 2 less endurance rounds, getting a couple more of those technical rounds. It's really mixed things up this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's something we're always looking to do, is listening to feedback. And we felt with the enduro races, they didn't really create the action that we were looking for, and there was a request for more reverse grids, and some even wanted some of the sprint rounds to come back. I don't think we'll ever go back to the 3 20-minute races. It just creates too much chaos most of the time. But I think this season was definitely a good mix of some strategic, fuel saving, but also some great sprint type races as well. Certainly with the reverse grid numbers being increased, I think it created some fantastic racing and some opportunities for drivers who in the lower classes like the Pro Am and Am to be on the top step of the podium or get close to.
And of course, it's no rest for the wicked for you guys on the admin side of things. Once you finish sorting out this season, it's looking forward to next season. Anybody watching this who's maybe thinking, I wouldn't mind having a crack at that, where can people find out details moving forward?
Best way is to check out the website, worldsimracing.co.uk. Join the Discord channel, our server there. All the updates will be published accordingly. Next season's probably going to be towards the end of July, once we start to digest what we've done this season and take some notes away, as well as getting some feedback from the grid to make sure we come back with another polished version of the World GT Championship.
Well, pleasure as always, Andy, to have you on the broadcast, and all the best for the bit of a break over the summer.
Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate you guys at RaceSpot. Big thank you to Freem UK and Next Level Racing for their support this season. Really appreciate their input, and thanks to the drivers, the stewards, and of course everybody watching back home. So thanks very much, everybody.
So there we go, that series admin Andy Shield. We're now going to grab We are going to try and grab, but unfortunately I'm not able to grab it.
I'm going to move you.
Watson.
Let me move it up. Hold on.
Yeah. Adam Watson's going to be next, and he's standing by with Ron Mounds.
Yeah, Adam Watson joining us in the commentary booth. Adam, Pro-Am champion at the end of this season. How does that phrase feel in your head?
It does feel good. I've won it before, but this season's been really, really, really close, and it's just it could have gone one of many ways because the last 5-6 rounds have just been chaos and mental and just really competitive.
And, you know, I've been looking through some of your results thus far this season. That was your 9th win here at the Red Bull Ring. Started off the season on a good note, then kind of ran into a bit of a mid-season lull, so to speak, but was able to end it on a high note here. I want to ask you about your thoughts from not just this race, but the entire season here in the World GT Championship.
Yeah, so like start of the season, I was in the Audi last season and really did not like it. Like Paul knows from past seasons when I ran the Porsche, it's been a more competitive car for me. So I went back to the Porsche, which was able to, you know, have this, I was able to be more comfortable, but some of the track doesn't suit it. So it's been a struggle in some rounds. So it's just been all about trying to maximize the results I can do. Unfortunately, we had that lull bit through the middle part, and then the last 2 rounds haven't been that great. I'm picking up the EXQ, so it's so it's just about trying to play the strengths of the car and just pick up points where I can do.
Hey, playing to the strengths of your car, I should say, is certainly a good strategy, a winning strategy at the end of the season as well. Adam, congratulations on the championship.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully we can speak to another driver who had an interesting day. Dan McCauley is with Ron.
Yeah, Dan McCauley, welcome into the commentary booth, man. Looked like you're finally going to give that dang 43 car of Aiden Carter a challenge towards the mid-sector of that race. But still, pretty very valiant effort for you in that Series 1 Racing Mustang. Happy to talk us through it.
Yeah, it's been a pretty hectic season. I thought I had a chance at catching Aiden after the first 3 rounds, but then he kind of changed gear and he's been untouchable ever since. So even getting to see the back of his car for 2 races was a nice change. But yeah, kind of surprisingly on pace at this track. The bank holiday weekend actually helped me get a good bit of practice for once, and seems like it paid off. Really enjoyed tonight.
I can imagine around this tight and technical racetrack that can really test you drivers, getting a bit of practice in is super important. But I want to ask you about your season as a whole here from the World GT Championship, now that's in a rearview mirror.
Well, this is probably my first real competitive league in about 5 years, since I was involved in World GT near the start, back when it was GTE, and it's evolved so much since then. So to even be in with a sniff at a podium in the overall AM Championship, I'm buzzing. It's kind of more than I could have expected, especially with a couple of AM wins and a good few AM podiums in there. I'm thrilled, to be honest.
I can imagine you're very happy with some of the results that you put in throughout this season. That's a pretty snappy looking race car you got out there, and hopefully we'll see you out on track next season. But Dan McCauley, thank you for joining us, and well done on the performance here at the Red Bull Ring.
Yes, guys, thanks for the season.
Yeah, always good to hear from a number of our drivers here today. Provisionally, the championship standings have been updated. Dino Lombardi then with a 200-point lead in Pro over Alexander Davidson in second place. James Boumet rounds out the podium in Pro. Pro-Am, 91 points in the end was the gap between Adam Watson and Jack Osborne, with Will Guthrie holding on to third place in Pro-Am. In Am, well, I mean, it was already sealed anyway, but 345 points separating Aiden Carter and Dan McCauley, with Ben Altria rounding out in third place. The closest battle, though, and I kept on mentioning it, Ron, in that second race was between 07 Racing and WSR Esports Butt Kicker. 9 points was the difference between 07, who win the Pro Teams Championship, and WSR Esports Butt Kicker. How important was Lorenzo Castellani's win in the end up there?
Imagine the amount of pressure that Lorenzo was feeling behind the wheel of that 5 car, knowing that it was that small of a margin in that team's championship fight. Think of the amount of racing we've had up to this point. This season started all the way back in January, had 22 absolutely brilliant races. To have it all come down to 9 points when it comes to that team championship battle really speaks to the competitiveness of the series.
Also, Altitude Esports by Mr. Hedge do take provisionally the AM Teams Championship. Adam Hedgecock, Dan Blackwell, and Jonathan Walker holding on to that one by 125 points over Series 1 Racing. Well, I'm afraid that's all that we've got time for here today. Ron, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you along for the season. And we'll look forward again to next season, won't we?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what Season 18 may have in store for the World GT Championship. These past couple of weeks, these 22 races, and this journey that started all the way back right at the end of January was an absolute stunner of a season. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time here in the booth. I think you have as well, Paul. I absolutely loved it. Really looking forward to what this next season may have in store.
Thank you to everybody involved in the broadcast, Hugo Luis and also Romero for the productions during the season. Conor Maddock on commentary along with Jack Stiles joining me with Ron Mounds. And yeah, certainly it has been a pleasure to have you all along here for the ride. Make sure you join us after the summer for Season 18 of the World GT Championship. Until next time, from me, Paul Smith, it's goodbye.